Hey guys, hope you're doing well. Today is March 23rd, 2020. It's about 11 o'clock at night here in China, and so much has happened in the last few days since the last video. This video I think is going to be a little bit different, the things we're going to be talking about and the way I'm going to be talking about it. And, in the beginning when I first started doing these videos, and it's been about 2 months now since the very first coronavirus related video, the main intent of that was kind of just to chronicle what was happening in our lives here and share that with you, and you being primarily, friends and family that we knew personally. Although now I think most people that are watching this probably I don't know personally. Um, but that was the original goal, I think, to chronicle what was happening here. But at the same time, at the back of my mind, there was a really sort of foreboding sense that this was going to be much worse than just a local epidemic. And I've talked about this before, about the fact that it was happening in Wuhan, which is probably one of the busiest, if not the busiest airport in the world at that time of year. And the fact that they were locking down the city, there were just so many things that were coming through the news, even way back then, that really kind of made the hairs stand up in the back of my neck. And so that was kind of the second goal in doing these things, was not just talking about my life, but also helping you all get prepared for kind of a worst case scenario. And unfortunately, I think that worst case scenario has come to fruition. And I think that there's really no reason anymore to be sounding alarms and to be warning people and to be helping you get prepared, because it's already there. It's already happening. There's so many places that are being locked down, and there's so many things that are happening day to day. So many big changes, announcements coming through, um, and watching the news there too. There's just so much turmoil, I think, going on, and people are so worried, about the disease, about the economy, all those things. So I think in these videos, I'm going to try to move into a different phase, and at least for this video. Maybe I'll go back to those old videos in the future, but this phase being sort of trying to let you be calm, and kind of accept that this is going to be your new normal for a while. I don't know how long, but it will probably be a few months at least. It's taken China about 3 months to get a handle on this, and it's still not back to normal here. So I would imagine there in the United States or in other countries, Western countries, it's going to be a while. This could be the rest of the year. So that's kind of the angle I'm going to be taking, at least in this video, maybe also in future videos, but just kind of to help you get your mind around it, and kind of hear my thoughts on what might be coming and what we had to go through here at the very least. So this is going to be a little bit of a different video. I've already rambled here for 3.5 minutes. So my suggestion to you is pause this, grab yourself a drink. I've got whiskey here. Take your poison, and come back and sit down, and let's have a chat about this thing. So in this video, we're not going to be doing projections, we're not going to be doing numbers, we're not going to look at graphs, we're not going to look at worldometers, we're just going to be talking. I want to talk first about what our life has been like these last couple of months. And I know I've expressed a lot of that in the videos, but there's a few things I haven't talked about a whole lot, so I want to kind of get into that here. Um, the first thing is just how surreal this has all felt. And it's hard to imagine, really, that life was normal just 8 weeks ago, 9 weeks ago. There were murmurings of this disease, in Wuhan, but it wasn't on anyone's radar, really, not here anyway. And in just a few weeks, everything has changed. It's changed so quickly. And I think we've gotten used to it because we've been in this situation for so long now. So we're kind of used to it, but it is strange to think about how things were so different. It feels like we've been in 2020 for a decade. I don't know if anyone else feels like that, but it honestly feels like this year has been going on for 10 years. Time is just moving slow. And there's a lot of simple things that I look back on and I realize I took for granted. Things like going out with your friends and having a meal outside, going to McDonald's, walking down the street, without a mask. Little things like this, that I appreciate more, I think, now. And I find myself enjoying and appreciating really small things in life that I never took the time to appreciate it. Little things like the sound of birds in the morning, because it is springtime here, springtime is starting. That nature is starting to come out, and even though we can't really be out in it and enjoy it, we can kind of look out at it from our window, and just those little things that really stand out. And I think that's one thing that's really stuck out to me, and something you can look forward to is life slowing down and really getting a chance to enjoy the things that are there worth enjoying. And there's a lot of things in life that are worth enjoying, and don't forget that. When you go through the thick of this and when things really start getting scary, and they will get scarier, take that time every day to give yourself a break and appreciate what you have, because there's a lot you still have. Despite this, there's a lot that you still have. And with springtime coming around, there's going to be opportunities to enjoy nature. And there where you are in America, I'm sure your opportunities are going to be many more than mine are. Just walking to the park, listening to the birds, looking at the squirrels running around. Those little things are really going to maybe hit you harder than they've ever hit you before, because you were so busy with the little things in life that suddenly don't mean anything. So enjoy those things. So that's been one thing. China is slowly emerging from the shadows here. It's taking a long time, but we're not there yet. Life is not back to normal. Every area is different. I have friends that are in the south part of China, in Yunnan, and it seems like life there is coming back to normal a lot faster than it's been coming back to normal here. Every area is different, but here and in many of the areas I've kept in contact with friends from, yeah, life is not back to normal yet. You can just tell by looking outside. It's just not there yet. Another thing that I've experienced, and this is something I really wanted to kind of focus in on this video, is that there is a lot of distrust and paranoia. And that's to be expected. Anytime there's a crisis, it doesn't matter what kind of crisis, there's going to be that distrust and that paranoia. And it's kind of interesting because it's backwards here than it is there in America. There in America, there was a lot of paranoia towards Chinese people coming, or even Asian-looking people, right? That were coming. They were afraid, especially if they're wearing a mask. Oh, they must be sick. They've got the coronavirus. Oh my goodness, let's spray paint their cars and crazy stuff like this. Of course, this was the more extreme stuff, but there was a lot of that kind of stuff going on. And here we're experiencing that because we're foreigners, and now China is one of the safest places to be. And so when people look at us, we get the same reaction, which is one of the reasons that my wife and I are not really going out at all. We only go out when we have to pick up water deliveries, when we have to get our groceries, but we really try to stay within our neighborhood. And we've had some bad experiences recently. We had some neighbors, I don't know who, accused us of breaking quarantine. Now, fortunately, when we were under quarantine for the 2 weeks after I came back from Korea, the police station actually put a surveillance camera outside our door that was motion sensitive. So every time we opened the door to throw out trash or whatever, the light would come on and it would start recording us. So they had a record of every time we opened our front door. And so they were able to quickly determine that we had not broken that quarantine. But that was an accusation that was made. I don't know if those people actually thought they saw us outside, or if they were just trying to get us in trouble, maybe get us kicked out. I don't know. I try not to think about it too much, but there's a lot of things that have happened that are kind of similar to that, and you can just feel it. You can feel that people don't really want us here, so we're just laying low, and hopefully that'll die down as time goes on. But we'll see. So that's something that you might experience there, just a distrust among people that we're normally trusting. The one area that it looks like many of you will need to be going to at least once every 2 weeks, 3 weeks is the grocery store. And I want to emphasize how important it is to go at times that it's not busy, if at all possible. Try to go at non-peak business hours, because you don't want to be with a lot of people indoors. But if you have to be, you might notice some of this kind of distrust and paranoia, especially if you cough or you have, you clear your throat. This was something I experienced, and kind of a funny story, kind of awful. But when I was on the plane coming back from Korea, I had to do this visa run. So if you saw the videos, you know this. But I had to go to Korea for a few hours, turn around, come right back. And on the plane, I had my mask, I had my eye protection. I was just completely on high alert, wiping everything down, very, very careful. But I took a sip of water, so I had to remove my mask, take a sip of water. and it went down the wrong pipe. And so I was suffering, right? It's like burning as it's going down my throat there. And I knew that if I coughed, it would put everyone on red alert. And so I just like tried to grin and bear it and try to get it down. And finally, I had to clear my throat a little bit. My eyes were just burning. My nose was starting to run. And as soon as I did, people looked at me. They moved away on the plane. Fortunately, there were a lot of empty seats, so people just moved away. But I think that kind of thing, you'll feel that, and it's not a pleasant feeling. It's not pleasant to be so conscious of these little things that used to mean nothing, but now they suddenly mean something. So just the one thing I want to say about that is if you experience treatment like this, if you feel like someone is overly paranoid or overly distrustful at you, don't take it personally. It doesn't solve anything. It doesn't bring any benefit to the situation. And I know in the U.S. there's been so much news of xenophobia and things, and I'm not saying that's right to hate people because they're Asian or to suspect them of being sick because they're Asian, but there's nothing wrong with being cautious because someone is coming from an area in the world that may be infected. If I were to go back to America today, I would absolutely expect, in fact, I would demand that my friends and family kept their distance for at least 2 or 3 weeks because I'm coming from China. I'm coming from an area that had a lot of cases, so they should be careful. Now, of course, I think at this point America is probably more dangerous than China is, but still, I would want them to be careful around me. Um, I expect that. So don't take things personally. If people want to keep their distance from you, if you are of Asian descent and you have never even been to Asia, maybe, but people are treating you a certain way, don't take it personally. This is just the way these things go. Try to brush it off and get on with your day. There are more important things to worry about. The next thing I want to talk about, and this kind of relates to all the other stuff, is the amount of emotional stress and mental anguish that something like this is going to bring on is going to be significant. You are going to feel at your wits' end at times. You're going to feel overwhelmed emotionally. You're going to need to cry sometimes. I had those days. Moa had those days where it was just too much. It was too much to deal with. Um, and you need to keep your friends close. Of course, social distancing, right? So you can't see them in person, but talk to them often. Call them. Use your video conferencing tools like Skype and Zoom, FaceTime. Keep in contact with these people. Don't isolate yourself emotionally or mentally. It is not healthy. And by keeping connected, you'll really feel a difference. You'll feel a difference in your emotional health and your mental health. So that's something I really want to emphasize. It's really, really important. And it could be that at the beginning of this, and this is something we experience, it could be at the beginning of this, you're going to kind of enjoy the time off. You're going to kind of enjoy that downtime, but it gets old pretty quickly. So be balanced with that. Yeah, give yourself some alone time. It's okay to be lazy for a few days, but try to establish a routine for yourself. Try to keep your life as normal as possible despite the abnormal circumstances around you. Try to have a routine. If you work, dress up for it. It's okay to wear PJ, bottoms, pajamas, but try to take care of yourself. If you're clean shaven, go ahead and shave. Comb your hair. These little things give you a sense of dignity and pride that is really going to go a long way in helping you maintain your mental health. The other thing I want to talk about, and you probably at this point, I would imagine most of you already know this, you've already experienced it, but the news is not healthy. And I say this especially um, regarding Western news. I am so shocked, really, at how irresponsible the media is treating this. Not that they're ever, especially responsible, but the amount of anger, I think, just visible anger and lack of control in the reporting and the way things are reported and the statistics being given and the advice being given is just astounding. It really is. And I've said before that I think really what you need to know about this disease, you can really find on a handful of websites. Find out what the scientists are saying, find out what the data is saying, and then make your decisions. I like worldometers because they're just figures. They're numbers. I can see the graph. I know where things are going. I know generally where we are in the stream of things, and that's enough. But what I find is that when I start going on YouTube and I start watching the latest coverage on ABC and NBC and Fox and CNN and BBC and all these different news outlets, it really increases my paranoia, and it doesn't tell me anything I don't already know. It doesn't really give me anything substantial to act on. It just increases anxiety. So I would say just be real cautious. It's important to keep up with things, but really try to weigh your emotional condition every day before you turn on the news. And there might be some days where you just don't turn it on, and that's okay. You aren't going to miss anything. The most important thing at this point is just to stay home. So how is knowing the new number of infected and dead in your city going to help you do that any better? You were going to stay home anyway, right? So just try to balance that and not overexpose yourself to the news if you can avoid it, or just choose better news sources. You know, the ones I like. I find that they really tell me everything I need to know. So yeah, news consumption. And then finally, just some thoughts about mental health. I've talked about it here before as far as the social element of mental health. Eating well is important. I will say that you probably will experience a loss of appetite, and that's just because your body is using less calories. It also could be anxiety related, but from doing some research, it seems that one of the main reasons is just because you're not moving around as much. You're sedentary. You're at home. You're sitting. You're laying down. You might be walking a little bit back and forth. You might be walking around your yard, but you're not getting in as many steps. You're not burning as many calories as you would on a normal day before the pandemic. So if you eat less, that's okay. Don't worry. Don't freak out too much about it. Your body probably doesn't need all those carbs and proteins and calories. So um, try to be reasonable with that, and it'll also help you to save money. The less you eat, the more you'll save. The other thing too is as exercise, trying to keep up a somewhat normal exercise routine. Depending on where you live, that might be easier than in some areas. Here, it's very difficult to get good exercise because all of the exercise areas have been roped off. They have barriers, so you can't go there. So you can walk around our neighborhood. You could jog around our neighborhood, I guess, but that's not great with a mask. So we just usually just pace in our living room. Yeah, real good for mental health, right? Pacing in your living room. If you've got like a yoga mat or something, you can do sit-ups and push-ups and those kind of things too. That helps. If you have videos, you can go online, watch YouTube. They have exercise things, stretching. All those things help. But getting some sort of, I think, physical exercise beyond just walking to and from your kitchen and bathroom, that's probably a good thing. And then getting enough sleep, that's important too. Um, it was pretty rough, I think, for us the first week, maybe first 10 days, maybe even 2 weeks when we first were on lockdown, because you do get that cabin fever and you want to get out of the house. Um, and because you've got that added anxiety from the news and the figures that are going up the charts and everything with this exponential growth, it's hard to sleep at night. And it's even almost like it was an addiction, I think, for a while, looking at the worldometer site, looking every hour, what are the latest numbers. I'm kind of past that now, but all that adds to sleep loss. And it was getting to the point where sleep cycles were just really weird. So going to bed, at different times every day, taking naps, sometimes really long naps, like 3 hours during the afternoon, sometimes not taking naps, and that would cause mood swings and all sorts of things. So eventually, Mo and I both decided that we needed to just have a really specific time we went to bed and not break that. So we would go to bed a little earlier, wake up a little earlier, and that really made a big difference. It made a difference in our relationship. It made a difference in our moods. It made a difference even in the appetite, everything. So those are some things to keep in mind. Just try to keep somewhat of a normal routine. It's going to feel impossible at first, but you know, if one thing can be said about humans, it's that we're very adaptable. We can live under sometimes unimaginable circumstances, and we can find a new normal. And so find that new normal for yourself. Try not to be living in the past. Don't be thinking about the things you used to be able to do, because you can't do them anymore. So get over it. Try to find new things that'll bring you joy. Try to find new things, new hobbies, new interests that you maybe didn't have time for before. Stay in touch with people. Rekindle old friendships with people that maybe you've lost touch with along the way. Because literally everywhere around the world, everyone's going through this now. So now you have something to talk about with these people. So hopefully some of these things were useful. You probably come to these conclusions on your own by now. But as time goes on, things are going to be changing very, very quickly. Every day, there are going to be things that are happening that you would have never imagined you would see in your lifetime. but that's just how it is. So try to find some normalcy. Normalcy. I had one sip of whiskey and I can't remember how these words. Try to find that new normal in your life, and when you do, you'll find that you'll feel more stable, because that's what you can control. You can control what's in here. You can't control what's out there. So hopefully this was helpful, and we'll see you next time.